Hey, what's up, family? You know, I would always say, hope you're having a good day. If you're not having a good day, just know that the best, the worst is behind you, and tomorrow has yet to be manifested because we create it with our thoughts and our intentions. So, I've always thought when I start my videos, I say that, but I never really explain what I mean behind that, so to speak. So, and as I was saying before, the things I talk about are not things that I'm just trying to preach or try and tell you guys how to do certain things. It's really because this is my life and I've lived these things that I talk about. And I have definitely the emotional scars, I will say, to back them up. In one of the biggest areas I had came around negative thoughts, especially being an Aquarius. Any air sign, Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, will tell you that it's easy for us to get caught in our minds and just ruminating and thinking about things over and over and over again to the point of mental exhaustion. And I just remember growing up, being younger, and just constantly just having thoughts just going through my head, inundating. And at the time I didn't realize what it was. It was actually, like my different abilities, my psychic abilities and stuff at that time just hit me so strong. And at that time, I just didn't know. I just wanted to be quiet because it was so hard for me to think, so hard for me to kind of go through life and stuff. But I was definitely someone who struggled with negative thoughts, negative emotions, especially when you're someone that you become accustomed of life not working out for you or going against you, or just certain things you feel happen to you but don't happen to anyone else. When you get caught in a cycle of those things happening over and over and over again, your natural instinct becomes to just think negatively. Anytime anything positive happens in your life or in positive opportunities, you're always quick to give it a negative slant. You're quick to give it a negative thought. Oh, well, say if you get a promotion or somebody gives you a present. Say somebody gives you a present. You have been there for that person. You've done everything in the world that you can for that person, and the person genuinely wants to give you that present as a way to say thank you for the things that you've done for them, the way that you've helped them, and just for genuinely being there for them. But because of having that negative mindset, or that negative thought process, because of the cycles that we've been put into or we've got stuck into, and I don't want to say stuck into because I don't want to use those words, because it's something that we self-create ourselves. It's not something that we're stuck in. It's something that we keep ourselves into. So the perception is we're stuck into it, but we're not. But in essence, just when certain things happen, it's easy. So when that friend comes to give you that gift as a genuine way to express and to show their gratitude for you, it's easy to get stuck in those negative patterns. Well, this person is only doing this because they want something from me. What do they want from me? What did they do wrong that I don't know about? And they're giving this to me as a way to make up for it or to soften the blow for when I finally, find out what it is they did to me or did behind my back, so to speak. You can insert whatever you would want into the mix, but the idea is someone's doing something genuinely nice for you in your life, but because of that negative mentality, that negative thought process, that fear, you're projecting your own thoughts, beliefs, and feelings onto what that person is trying to do for you versus accepting what it is that they're actually doing and the genuine emotions that they're showing you in that moment. And that's why I start my videos off with saying that I hope, you're having a good day, because I know what it's like to not have a good day. But I'm trying to project that positive energy, that positive sense of love, my nurturing nature through the screen to you, because if you're not having a good day, nobody understands that better than myself. So I'm trying to be that person, especially if you don't have anybody to talk to you or to talk to in that moment. I'm the person just saying, hey, everything's okay. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you, and we're going to get through it together. Sorry, there's a tree that's fallen here, so let me see if I can work my way around it here a little bit. But especially if you don't have anybody there to talk to and to be an advocate for you, it's my way of basically letting you know that somebody is here and wishing you a good day. And then also too, on the negative mindset, and just like that whole tree right there, like it could have been there. I could have gotten mad. I could have been like, man, I was enjoying my walk. I was having fun, making this video here, this tree being down, and I got to walk around it. Now it's going to mess up the video. It's going to mess up the flow. It's going to mess up this. It's going to mess up that. And you see how I didn't. Initially, my thought process was, okay, this tree's down. What am I going to do? How am I going to keep my flow, my thought process going as I navigate this obstacle? But you see, I didn't get negative. I didn't start projecting what could go wrong. I saw the tree. Yes, it was an inconvenience, but I could have just easily walked around it. And what did I do? I walked around it, and now I'm back on my walk. We're talking, we're conversing, and it just proved a perfect example of exactly what I was saying, that I could have spent 5 minutes just standing there being upset, being mad. Why did this tree have to fall? Why does it have to be right now? I'm trying to do something good. I'm trying to uplift people. I'm trying to help them out. And now, universe, you just put this tree in my, put this tree in my way. What else can go wrong? What else can you put in my life? I'm universe, please. I'm just using this as an example, so don't bring anything into my life. So I don't want to attract that. But that's just using that as an example, that when things happen to us, whenever the thoughts and intentions that we put out there, if we say, hey, what else can go wrong in my life, then in essence, you're telling the opportunity, you're telling the universe that you want to see what else can you do wrong in my life. And so the universe is be like, okay, that's what you want. This is what we're gonna bring you. And so then you'll start to notice that throughout the day or throughout a certain period of time, you'll just notice things continuously going wrong. And what do? Do you stop those negative thoughts? Or do you keep going deeper into those negative thoughts and just constantly going in and going in and going in? Well, how can you expect things to get better? How can you expect things to improve if you're living in that negative place all the time? So one thing that I did that's really helped me is affirmations. It's just coming up with various affirmations that will help you in the moment and stuff. So I like a lot of I am affirmations to be able to come up with those. So, I am smart, I am intelligent, I am handsome, I am smart, I am funny. And just saying those various things has really, helped me out. So I'm walking past some people right now. Just give me a few minutes. Hey buddy, how you doing? How you doing? You enjoying walk with Papa? Hello. How you doing? You got to hang out with Mama today. You enjoy yourself. Sorry, just one of the things on the trail. So obviously inevitably passing the visual. So it was a couple there, walking their dog. So. And the first one I passed was the gentleman there, so yeah, nice, pretty white lab. So that's why I made the comment, and then passed, must have been, I would say, his wife at the tail end there, walking another beautiful white lab. So, and that's the thing, man. That's why I love, I just love seeing people and just, spreading joy, spreading cheer, and that's one of the reasons why, so sometimes my Scorpio Moon will take over. So, you know, I'm sure one of these days you guys are going to see me kind of break down crying and stuff whenever I experience certain things, just because they're so profound and stuff. And just like in that instant, you know, like right there, you know, that's one of the reasons why I was so negative in my life for so long, is because I'm such a loving and such a caring person. You know, I would do so much for people in this world, and people would just do me so dirty, and I just never understood it. Like, you know, like, what did I do wrong to have these things happen to me? You know, like, what karma did I do in my previous lives and stuff? But it wasn't that necessarily, you know, I was doing anything wrong. It was the fact that I didn't have the boundaries in place. But that's another video, you know, I'll kind of get into that. So, you know, let me gain my composure a little bit here. So, you know, this Scorpio Moon and Scorpio and Jupiter, man, be definitely be whooping my ass sometimes, man. But, you know, it's, you know, they say as a man you shouldn't be emotional, but, you know, I love my emotional side of things. You know, definitely my North Node is in Cancer, so, you know, whenever sometimes I get a laugh as I try and think about the conversation that Spirit and I must have had whenever we were sitting down trying to figure out, you know, what attributes and stuff that I was going to come into this world with to try and help as many people as I possibly could. And damn, boy, did we hit them. So, but that's my whole thing with you guys, is just being here to share and express my journey with you guys. You know, it's definitely not an easy one, but it's so very rewarding. Those dark nights of the soul, going through where you feel like your world is ending. You know, up seems like down, down seems like up, right seems like left, left seems like right. Your whole world starts to fall apart. You know, at one point, my work life was in an upheaval. It seemed like nothing I could do worked out. Everything I did, I tried to do to help out, seemed like it backfired. You know, and you was like, okay, well, your job's falling apart. You know, what about your family? You know, well, my family was falling apart. A 15-year relationship that I had, that I was comfortable in, you know, that was falling apart as well. You know, not necessarily from anything in the relationship, but it was just Spirit guiding me and letting me know, you know, something that I've been feeling for many years, but I never had the courage to step into that power to do what I needed to do, and that was to end the relationship, because I knew it wasn't fulfilling. So not only was my relationship, you know, quote unquote falling apart, or not only was my work, job, life falling apart, but so was my personal relationship. And then, you know, it just seems like with my family, you know, my parents, you know, I love my mom and my dad to death, but, you know, they have certain religious beliefs that don't align with who I am and who I'm becoming. So not only was my work life falling apart, but also my relationship was falling apart. My family life, my family, the people that I knew, you know, was falling apart. I grew up in the Midwest, but I moved to the East Coast roughly when I was 20, in my mid-20s, and I've never really made any friends and stuff out here, because when I moved here, I was depressed because of coming out of a marriage that I never thought I would be divorced. But coming out of a marriage, I got married when I was 21. We were married for 8 months, and basically got it annulled, or got a divorce, because we got married because of the religion. You know, they were forcing us to get married. And like I said, I know, I'm saying all this to say, I know depression, I know negative thoughts, I know the darkness. I've been in the darkness. I feel comfortable in the darkness. Like, I can't understand, like, when sad things happen to me. There's this band called The Used. USED. Some people may know them because the lead singer Bert, he used to date Ozzy Osbourne's daughter Kelly. But there's a song called On My Own that they have. And anytime something emotionally heavy would hit me, or I would go through it, like that's the song that I would play. And that would be my darkness. Like I would shut down. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. I wouldn't want to do anything. Like I just wanted to go into a dark room, get into bed, turn that song on and just put it on repeat. And that was where I was comfortable. And to a degree, I still am comfortable, because I noticed that whenever I do go through those instances now to where curveball comes up, to where things are going good in my life and I feel like I'm hitting my stride, and then all of a sudden something pops up unexpected. It's as if the universe is asking, are you truly healed? And it's in that particular instance, I'm presented with that opportunity to show that yes, I am healed. There's a part of me that wants to go there, but I am not going to take it there, because I realize that that's not productive to the path that I'm on now. So in those moments where I feel that negativity, to where I feel those negative thoughts start to creep in, then that's when I go into my affirmations. You always hear about gratitude lists. So, I'm bad. Well, I don't want to say that. I'm learning how to become better with writing my thoughts down and journaling. So that's something that I'm currently not as effective in as I could be. And I feel like there's a lot of healing that can take place by that action. So that's one of the things I'm learning to get into, is journaling. And then with the gratitude, every morning when I wake up, I say my prayers, thank Spirit, my spiritual family for all they do to protect me. But I always end it off, either my prayers or my meditation, with counting from 5 to 1. So basically, I'll say 5. I'm thankful and grateful for this path that I'm on. At times, it can be difficult and emotionally taxing, but I am grateful for this path. I'm grateful for this journey, and I'm grateful for the lessons that it teaches me. And then I'll just go through it from 4. Grateful for this forest. Grateful that Spirit created it, that I'm able to walk through it and to lean on its energy to help me alchemize my heavy emotions. And just basically go through, 3, 2, 1. 1 for me is always, I'm grateful for my connection to Spirit. The love that I am being shown, the times when I'm not strong enough, or I don't feel strong enough to do this walk alone, that Spirit is there with me to carry me and to support me, through this journey, and how I'm grateful, for that presence in my life. So it's just, that's my ritual that I have every day. So when I wake up, those, I say my prayer, and those are the basically, I go through my 5 things. When I do my meditations, I end my meditation. I go into my meditation with a countdown from 99 to 1 as a way to get to the deepest levels of my consciousness, I guess, in an essence, as a way of saying it. But when I come out, before I come out, instead of just opening my eyes, I go from 5 to 1 as my way of bringing myself up out of that level, and I go through the 5 things I'm grateful for. So when I say that, because what I try and do is constantly stay grateful. Every single day, there's always something that I'm grateful for, no matter what it looks like. Because I can't remember the Bible verse, but it says, walk by faith and not by sight. I'm not I'm the type of person that definitely believe in the Bible, but not from a literal sense, from a spiritual and metaphysical sense, to where I don't really care if the people in the Bible existed, but what are their stories trying to show me? How are their stories showing me to navigate life when I come up against some of these obstacles? That's why one of the videos I'll make, I'll kind of go into the story of Daniel, because it's very much prevalent to what I'm going through, and yet again, how I was able to not allow negative thoughts to derail me in that instance, and how I had to maintain a positive attitude, a positive mindset, an attitude of gratefulness in order to survive that situation. So that's why I start my videos off the way that I do, is because I know what it's like to be in those deep, dark places. I know what it's like to feel comfortable there, no matter what the world is showing you, no matter what the universe is showing you. There's no benefit in staying there. And trust and believe, there's no better person who understands that than me. Like I said, I've got a Scorpio Moon and is flanked by Jupiter in Scorpio. So I love being in that place. And it's hard for me. Once again, I got to watch the words that I'm using. How you doing? I got to watch the words that I'm using. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge for me to go through those instances and not feel like I want to collapse there, or I want to just curl up there, whenever those instances happen. So I really have to get myself out of that mentality, out of that mental state. And like I said, the way that I do that the most is by music. Music has always been big in my life. So whenever I start feeling that heavy emotion, sometimes songs will just come to me and pop in my mind. So the way I look at that is that's my ancestors talking to me, trying to boost my morale and give me something to focus on, give me a way to move my body to get that energy out. So that's one way, it's just by turning on some music and, just moving my body. I'm not even going to sit here and act like I'm a dancer or anything, but, just getting out there, just moving around and just getting that energy flowing and moving. You can really see to where it helps out. So, and that's why I start things off that way. Here, give me a second. Hey, you're fine. So I'm just trying to protect Mama. How are you doing today?
Doing well.
How you doing, buddy? So I'm just checking you out, make sure you're all right. You're good. Have a good day. Sorry. Just came across someone else, had a nice, beautiful Doberman. So that's one thing, people, you're not supposed to take dogs off leashes, but, if I had a dog, I would definitely be taking him off a leash out here and letting him run around. So, but, she had a nice woman. She had a beautiful black Doberman and had him off the leash and, went up to him. And animals definitely love me. So, when you got a kind and good spirit, good soul, and you're pure, animals aren't a threat to you. So, but anyways, family, I don't want to get off on a tangent. So, just mention it from the standpoint of I'm someone who understands the darkness. I'm someone who loves the darkness. I'm someone who has had struggles in the past with staying out of the darkness because it felt like home so many times, for so many different, or it's been the home that I've gone to whenever I've gone through emotions. When I went through my divorce, that I never thought I would be divorced, where did I go? I went into that, that dark place, that deep, dark depression. Whenever my parents kicked me out multiple times, starting from the age of 16, where did I go? That deep, dark depression is where I would go. My older brother, passed away. I had a good connection. Well, I can say I had a connection with. There's some things that went down while he was alive. We didn't get a chance to talk and work it out before he passed. And, you know, so there are a lot of things that have happened in my life that have big emotional impacts that have taken me to a dark depression. So I understand it, and that's why I start the videos off the way that I do, especially saying that our thoughts and our intentions manifest our reality. Because once you start, even if you don't feel like there's things to be grateful for, I'm sure if you sat there long enough and just thought about it, hey, you know, 1, you opened your eyes, you know, 2, you know, you have to fill in the blanks for what's going on in your particular life. So I know what I'm thankful for and what I have to be thankful for, and that's what I give thanks for. And just through that repetition, you know, I have on my mirror, you know, when I go through, I watch tarot videos on YouTube. There's this one lady I like watching, Queen Amara, when I started out on my journey, and she always gives out various affirmations and stuff towards the ends of her video. And what I would do is I would write down some of the affirmations, especially whenever she would say them and I felt called to. I would write those affirmations down on a sticky note, and then I would post it on my mirror in my bathroom. So that way, every time I went into the bathroom to wash my hands, use the bathroom and wash my hands, or take a shower, or do anything in the bathroom, I would be looking in the mirror and I would see those sticky notes on the mirror. And so basically I would force myself to go through and to read each one over and over and over again. Sometimes I didn't want to do it, you know, so it took a little bit of trying from time to time, but it was going through those actions, really getting in that mindful state. Because when I left that 15-year relationship, you know, I moved, I didn't have any money whatsoever saved up, because I was living paycheck to paycheck, because I was in essence spending all of my money supporting the relationship. And so I was at a point to where I was starting over. I had no money. I barely had enough money to pay my rent and to pay my credit card bills and stuff that I had. But in that moment, I still found something to be grateful, because before I actually ended the relationship, every time I would go to the grocery store, I would always feel a calling to go to the canned soup aisle. It was the weirdest thing. It was like every time I would go to a grocery store, no matter what it was, I just felt like I should go over to the canned soup aisle and I should get me a can of soup, you know, 1 or 2 cans of soup. Didn't know why, didn't understand it, but for the next, I would say 6 months or so, every time I would go to the grocery store, I would always grab 2 cans of soup, put them in my cart. It became almost like clockwork. Didn't understand what was going on, but hey, I was being called to do it. So it wasn't until I actually ended the relationship, moved out, got the apartment, and realized that I didn't have money to buy food, that my mind started working. And guess what I had? When I opened the cabinet up, guess what I had? I had a cabinet full of soup. All kinds of soup. What I didn't recognize in the moment was that Spirit was guiding me, because Spirit knew that in a couple of months I was going to be breaking up, because that's what He was guiding me to do. But He also knew that it was going to be a journey for me, especially a financial journey. And so He was preparing, you know, I say He, don't get it twisted as far as if Spirit's a man or woman, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you want them to be. So to me, I like calling Spirit my pop, you know, Mother Earth, my mother. So that's the dichotomy that I use in my spiritual practice. Whatever you use in yours, that's for you to decide. It's not for me to tell you, you have to do it one way or the other. And it's not for you to tell me how I should do it one way or the other. It's for all of us to come into our own alignment with how we're supposed to do things. So it was in that moment that where it looks like I didn't have anything to be grateful for, I had everything to be grateful for, because even when I couldn't see, even when my physical eyes couldn't see the way forward or what was about to come. Spirit knew what was coming and had me set up. I don't know why it's just for the call to this tree right here. So Spirit was guiding me and had me to get those cans of soup because, you know, Spirit knew what I was about to go through and what I was about to embark on. And for that, I was grateful because guess what I lived off of for the next 3 to 4 months? Didn't have to worry about getting groceries, didn't have to worry about doing anything. Whereas those cans of soup. The one thing I would do is I would go to Sam's Club because I managed to get one of those things to where you can get a Sam's Club membership for $15 instead of paying $50. So I got that, and I would go to Sam's Club, and Sam's Club, they sell these rotisserie chickens for $5. So there for a while, my routine was I would go to Sam's Club, I would get me a rotisserie chicken. I would eat off the chicken all that I could, making sandwiches, fixing sides, and then when I had picked as much chicken off as I could, I would take that chicken and I would throw it into a crock pot. I would mix it with a can of soup. I would buy a thing of vegetables and I would put it in the crock pot and I would make me some kind of chicken soup. And then I would basically eat off of that until it was gone. And basically I would repeat that cycle over again, you know, for the next couple of months. And like I said, you know, in that moment, I could have been mad, I could have been upset, I could have been thinking negative. Well, Spirit, you know, I've done what you asked me to do. Why aren't you blessing me? You know, why aren't you giving me what I feel like I deserve? It was in that moment that I realized how much Spirit was really in my life, because I had finally got to a point to where I could zoom out and see the direction that He had been trying to lead me. I didn't know why I was buying those soups, but I just kept feeling an urge to buy them. And lo and behold, it's what carried me through a phase in my life that He called me to embark on. How can you not be grateful for that? If I had sat there in that moment and I had stayed in that negative mindset, being upset, being angry at what I perceived I lacked and I didn't have, where would I be? How much time would I have wasted in that moment? And that's why I say and start my videos off the way that I do, because your thoughts and your intentions really do create your reality. So what thoughts and what intentions are you focused on right now, and how are they shaping your reality? Because let me tell you that while it feels good to be in that shadow, in that dark place, it's not where you want to reside and not where you want to hang out. You know, Spirit sees the path forward and is trying to call you forward and is trying to use things in your life to help you realize it. The question is, are you taking the time to breathe? Are you taking the time to realize what Spirit's trying to show you and what Spirit's trying to teach you? So, hope that understands or explains a little bit as far as why I open my videos up the way. Just because that's my way of and trying to inject a little bit of positivity into you guys' lives and get you to be conscious about your thoughts and your intentions for your life, because it's what creates the reality that you experience. I remember growing up, and I'll end it with this story. I remember growing up, I used to see certain things and I would ask myself, man, you know, I wonder what it's like to experience this, or I wonder what it's like for this person to have to go through this. And lo and behold, I started to notice that every time I would say something like that or along those lines, I would start to experience exactly what that person maybe had gone through or what they experienced. And it didn't take long before I started to realize that I was manifesting this stuff into my life. You know, I was changing my reality through my thoughts and my words. And guess what I stopped saying? Guess what I no longer said anymore? You're exactly right. You know, I wonder how this person experiences things. Let me walk my. Give me 1 second. Sorry, let's get back in the vehicle here. So, but guess what? I no longer said anymore. I no longer said, "Hey, I wonder why." Sorry, I was trying to get a different angle here. So, I no longer said, "Hey, I wonder what it's like to experience this," or how a person felt during a certain experience, because I've started to realize that thought and that intention was pulling that experience into my reality, so that way I could experience it as part of my intention of wondering what it was like to experience it. So it taught me at a very young age to be careful of what I say out of my mouth, because you can and will manifest it into your reality. So if you're not having, if your experience right now is not a good one, try zooming out and looking at what part of that experience is trying to teach you something, and what part of the reality you're creating yourself with your thoughts and your intentions. Because if you think nothing good will ever happen to you, why are you surprised when nothing good ever happens to you? Because you're literally telling the universe that nothing good ever happens to you. So then why would the universe send you anything good? So it's those types of things and those thought processes that we really need to be mindful of and be aware of that we're using, because it is inadvertently creating the reality that we don't want, and just making ourselves depressed, or sending us to that shadow place that we love, and we're perpetually keeping ourselves there. So if anything, family, like I said, I know it's not easy. It's not something that you're going to wake up one day and all of a sudden you're in a positive mindset. It's something that you have to work on, just like going to the gym and lifting those weights. But if anything, if I'm an example of anything, it's an example of someone who loves being in that shadow place. If I can get out of it, and whenever it's presented to me, if I can get out of it and stay out of it, then you can do it as well. What you would need to do is figure out what those triggers are, so that way when those triggers happen, how are you going to respond to them in a way that keeps you out of that shadow place. And the times when things happen and it takes you there, or you feel yourself starting to slip into that place, what are the things that you can do to help stop your descent into that place, and rise, and keeps you from going to that place, and helps you to be able to rise and maintain your vibrational state. So for me, that's music. Anytime I start to feel myself go to that place, it's turning on music, but it has to be the right kind of music. So like I mentioned, that one song they used, it's music, but I can't listen to that when I feel myself starting to slide to that place, because that's just going to hasten how fast I slide there, because that's the anchor that I use for so many years. I have to find something that's more upbeat. So I've been getting more into house music, drum and bass, something that has like an upbeat, tempo, kind of like the oldies and whatnot. So, that's one area where I'm kind of getting into right now. So just know that your thoughts and your intentions create your reality. And if you don't believe me, just try a little experiment. Pick something that's not crazy in your life, but just start speaking those words. Like I said, one thing I would experience is when I would see somebody going through something, I'd be like, well, hey, I wonder what it's like to experience that. Just make sure the person that you pick to want to experience something is something good and not something bad, because you're going to pull that into your life. So just know how powerful you are. Yeah, just know how powerful you are. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here, family. So like I said, the biggest thing is, I just always say that in the intro of my videos, and I felt like I never really explained it, why I say that So this is just my video of one explaining my intro, why I say it, and just let you know that you have a brother, who loves the darkness, who's been in the darkness before, but has learned how to pull themselves out of the darkness. And if anything else, that's just what I want to be, is an example of somebody who is either where you are and has found their way out, or has successfully made it out. And just know that I'm here for you. You're more powerful than you know that you are. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. You don't know. I never thought I would be here at this place, at this stage in my life, but I'm so happy. I'm so fulfilled, and I'm co-creating with spirit right now, and it's the most amazing feeling in the world. So I just want more people to get to this level, and if me being vulnerable and sharing my story is one way to help people do that, then it is what it is. So, I'm just embracing my Aries fire to get myself into situations, my Scorpio moon side to be in those emotions and learn how to alchemize them, and then tapping into my Aquarius nature to be able to understand why I went through it, what I learned from it, and then how I can share that story with others to help them learn those lessons as well. So maybe they don't have to go through those journeys, or if they do, they at least know how to better navigate it. So I'm going to leave it here, family. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I hope you have a great day. No, I'm not hope you have a day. You're going to have a great day. You're going to have an even better day than I'm having right now. So I'm in the woods. I love it out here. Nature has been crazy today. There's been so much bird activity around. Like, I can't even explain it. So the energy is live and in the air, and let's tap into it. So I love you, family. I love you. I love you. You're so amazing, and have a great day. Oh, and you're beautiful and handsome.